Welcome to the Morning Blitz with John Abraham, Captain Cool, and the Bandiman Bailey Lowery. Call into the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline now, 256-576-4977. That's 256-576-4977. Now, here's Captain Cool.
Hello and welcome in, everybody, to a Tipsy Tuesday here in No Man's Land. Welcome to the Morning Blitz on 97.7 ESPN The Zone. I'm John Abraham, Captain Cool, alongside the Bandiman Bailey Lowery.
Just trying to adjust my camera, but how's it going, Captain Cool?
It's going fine, Bandy. I know today's going to be a fun day talking NFL, talking college football, talking with one Mr. Ryan Sylvia from VolReport.com. We're going to be getting all the information we need to know for this Tennessee matchup as they go up against South Carolina, a team that absolutely decimated them last season with with a pretty solid team. Now, Tennessee Vols looking a little shaky at times, obviously able to beat the competition, the lesser competition, while falling to Florida, a team that lost to Utah and did not look any good, I will say. Graham Mertz did not look like he was going to get into his ways until later on in the season, but alas, week 3 came by. Tennessee and Florida faced off, and Graham Mertz looked pretty solid, but it was mainly that running game with the Florida team that really took him off. Now we're looking at a South Carolina team who doesn't just have, a quarterback that could run, but a whole team that can run all over you. Bandy, it's going to be a lot of fun today. But let's start off, first off, by letting you guys know that you can hop into this first half of the show. 256-5764
97.7
is the number for you guys to call in, and you can also follow us on Twitch or on Twitter at 97.7 ESPN and on Facebook at 97.7 ESPN The Zone. And while you're at it, go and find us on Twitch and YouTube at WZZN TV for more than just sports talk. You get to see me, you get to see the Bandiman, you get to see the room behind us. It's all just a lot of fun over there, and you can chat with us in the chat boxes on those designated streaming services. This show presented by Fleming Roofing and Restoration. The guys that you need to talk to about all of your roofing needs. If you're having any roofing problems, make sure you look them up online at FlemingHSV.com to fill out your free quote today. And remember that Fleming always shows up. Now, Bandy, before we hop into the NFL talk, did you see what's going on with the Washington Commanders and how they're being sued for not going back to the Washington Redskins?
Yeah, I mean, I saw it come across a little bit on my feed, but why don't you go ahead and give me the details, Captain Cool?
Well, the Commanders have been sued by the Native American Guardians Association, which have been trying to get the Commanders to change their name back to the Redskins for quite some time now. And now it's gotten so far to where it literally has to be legal action towards them. I don't know all the details, so I don't know exactly who's going to, come out on top of this, but their main thing is that the logo, this is a quote too, the logo on the Redskins helmet is an actual person. It is Chief Whitecalf. We a lot of us know this stuff, okay? When it go way, way back, I mean, there's a reason that they had this, the guy on the helmet. Every time they go out on that field, they were honoring Chief Whitecalf, and they were battling on the field, or on the football field, with the same honor and integrity and courage. They should continue to honor that. And now these Native American groups are going after them after they thought that maybe the Redskin name was a little bit too harsh, a little bit too commanding, where they end up changing it to the football team. And this is obviously in a weird spot to Dan Snyder as a part of this organization. He doesn't want to look any worse than he already does. And then they change it to the Commanders, and then a whole bunch of hullabaloo goes down. And now they don't want to have that name anymore. They don't want the Commanders. The Commanders is a boring name, and they want to change it to something else.
Yeah, I'm seeing, actually, just continuing to read this, it looks like one of the main points was that they only consulted one group about, before doing the name change, and that's what they went with. So it's like you're centralizing us. Like, you're taking the opinion of one group and thinking we all agree with it when we don't. We want the name back to how they were honoring Chief Whitecalf.
Yeah,
Chief Whitecalf.
It's funny how they go after. They're just like, oh, okay. Well, we'll deal with this in the easiest way possible. Let's ask this one singular group. Hey, you guys, do you like this name? Oh, no? Okay, well, we're changing this to another name. Do you guys have any, opinions on these names? Okay, Commanders, we're going with that one. Let's go. No more football team, guys. We're moving on. They would have been better off staying as the football team because that would be more, interesting, I would say. But, I mean, if there's a large group of Native Americans that are actually pushing for this, hear them out. It doesn't have to be Redskins. It could be something else, but still, hear them out because that right there, I mean, it's like the Braves. I mean, a lot of people get hyped up for the Braves because, you know, obviously the background of the meaning of the name and all that stuff. But at the same time, I mean, it's a good team. And it's showing off. And at the same time, you get these people watching. It's like, if the Redskins were good and they decided to change the name, I mean, people would be even more outraged. But this has been something that's been going on behind the scenes. And now it has come to legal actions by a Native American group, the Guardians Association, to finally try and change this back to the Redskins. And I got to say, I'd rather be the Redskins than anything else. I don't know about you guys. Bandy, what do you think about this whole story?
I mean, it's just kind of wild to me. I'm going through the story right now, just learning up on about it because I just saw the headline come across my feed today. I hadn't really looked that much into it, but the leader of NAGA, the one like NAGA, who's leading the lawsuit, said that describing Mr. Harris with the Commanders, Mr. Harris apparently only feels it is important to hear from one group of Native Americans while ignoring the rest. If he lets other people in on the discourse, I think he would learn a lot.
Well, there you go. I mean, have fun with that. I mean, she just said it's
because it seems like a lot of the new age fans that came into football, like I would say, around our age, and younger, get into football. I mean, they didn't really know what about the Redskins.
They don't know the history.
Yeah, they didn't know the history of the Redskins and how it was honoring that chieftain.
Yeah. So
from a surface value, they were looking at the name and thought it was offensive.
Yeah.
When in reality, it couldn't be further from the truth.
Yeah, there might be a few people that comment on it, especially from our age group, because, you know, it's that woke generation that comes around. It's like everything's going to have something wrong with it, so let's really just nitpick at everything. And the Redskins obviously was one of those things that really glared out to people. It's like, oh, people are glorifying, they're throwing this, you know, Native American chief on his helmet. Oh, he's got red skin and all that stuff. It's like, it's football, and this is a team that is very historic, okay? So let's just kind of leave it at that and not trying to delve into anything weirder. But, Bandy, I also want to hop over to a team that has been doing absolute wonders for everybody's fantasy football team, and that is the Miami Dolphins, Bandy. We've talked about this Dolphins team prior to the season. I very much hyped them up because I like what I see from Tua. On top of that, he's got a Tyreek Hill. On top of that, he's got Jalen Waddle. This right here is already a setup to go to the Super Bowl. I mean, this is the same as Jalen Hurts, obviously, Devontae Smith, and obviously A.J. Brown. It's like that type of core, except for, I mean, you got the elusiveness, the speed of Tyreek Hill, something we haven't really seen ever before, just this type of player. It's almost like Wes Welker, except for 10 times faster. On top of Jalen Waddle, who is a very, he's a decisive wide receiver. He's got very sure hands, and he will just leap over defenders to grab the ball. But this team didn't even need one of their star wide receivers to go absolutely crazy against the Denver Broncos, a team that had a stellar defense, okay? A stellar defense last season. A team that won games because their defense. Their offense couldn't score more than 20 points, and it's kind of the same thing this season. They got
I thought it would be different.
You thought it would be different. I thought it would be different. Sean Payton obviously thought it would be different, but 20 points. 20 points the Broncos put up. 70 points is what the Miami Dolphins put up. This is the most points in a football game since 1966, guys, against said Redskins. Okay, I believe it was the New York Giants against the Redskins. But looking at these stats, guys, like this is the type of stats you would see in a high school football game. Okay, first off, Tua Tagovailoa, 309 yards passing, 4 touchdowns, 23 of 26. Bandy, did you hear me correctly? 23 of 26. The man is on one, I will say, okay? Whatever knocked out of his head last season is completely gone because now he is in Tua mode, and I'm loving what I'm seeing from this Alabama quarterback. And then on top of that, Mandy, and I'll let you get in a word, okay, because I know I talk a lot. Devon Achane from Texas A&M. Rookie football player coming in, playing for this team. We thought we'd see more from Raheem Mostert, but no. After 3 touchdowns, they were like, okay, this guy's done. He's older. Let's save him some time running the ball. Let's just put on Devon Achane. 18 carries for 203 yards, 11.3 average, and 2 touchdowns on the day. Achane had one day, and let me tell you, it was amazing. And then obviously, you got to talk about Tyreek Hill. 157 yards receiving. It's just another normal day for him, and a touchdown. On top of that, 3 other players got a touchdown in the wide receiver area, and Devon Achane was one of them because he had 2 receptions for a touchdown. And then Chosen Anderson as well as Raheem Mostert also scored a touchdown receiving. So if you don't have Jalen Waddle, okay, if you don't have Tyreek Hill, you obviously got to have one of them in the game to succeed, okay, because you want to be able to pose the threat of throwing it downfield. You got those guys. This is why the Patriots failed, because they were thinking way too much about the wide receivers and totally forgot about the beast that is Raheem Mostert. And now I guess Devon Achane is going to be one of those running backs as well that I guess you guys could go after on the fantasy football world. I don't know if he's going to have the same success next week as he did this week. But he's got the abilities, and he was able to do it against the Denver Broncos. And I know, they've got one of the worst defenses in the league, but still, this is an NFL team that let another NFL team disrespect them by putting up 70 points.
I'd say, on top of all this,
Gosh.
you probably have the most likable coach in the NFL, and Mike McDaniel leading the charge.
He's so cool.
Like the whole way. Like, just a goofy dude. Like, I hope the picture is real. That I saw of him in the crowd with the playbook, just like giving it to fans, like letting them call plays.
I highly doubt. I have to see that picture because I don't know. But yeah, the 3-0.
I hope that picture is real because it'd be a very thing for him to do, Mike McDaniel thing to do.
Yeah, no, Mike McDaniel, he's one of us. I say like he's one of us.
On top of when he was like 20 years old, this came out too.
Yeah.
Was a former ball boy for the Denver Broncos.
Was it him that was a ball boy for the Denver Broncos?
It said Michael McDaniel.
Huh.
With a pretty good picture.
Okay. We might have to look into that one a little bit more, Bandy. But we got to hit a break because when we come back, we're hopping into some college football talk. We're talking about the Alabama Crimson Tide as they go up against the Mississippi State Bulldogs. And then we'll transition into the Tennessee-South Carolina matchup to see who's going to be favored in that one. And then we'll talk with Ryan Sylvia from VolReport.com about what needs to happen in Week 5 for the Vols to get the dub against their second SEC opponent of the season. That's what's coming up on the Morning Blitz on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
The state's largest orthopedic group is growing to meet the needs of the patients in our community. The Orthopedic Center has long been the most trusted name in orthopedics in North Alabama. So as our area continues on the fast track, so does the need for premier orthopedic care anywhere and anytime you need it. TOC is proud to announce the opening of our new locations in Albertville and Hampton Cove, along with the grand opening of our newest office in Decatur. These clinics will offer the same high-quality orthopedic care you have come to associate with TOC, with the convenience of being closer to home. As a patient, your time is your most precious asset, and we recognize that at TOC. That's why we are also proud to announce the opening of our urgent ortho clinics to handle those bumps and bruises that need prompt attention. These clinics are available to care for acute orthopedic injuries with no appointment necessary. With 38 physicians, 20 centers of excellence, and now more than a dozen locations to serve you, TOC will continue to be the name you turn to for the best orthopedic care at the right time. Visit our website at visittoc.com for more information. TOC, helping you live a better life.
Not looking or feeling your best? No energy for the things you like to do? Ready to look and feel younger? Make your appointment at Advanced Life Clinic, one of the region's foremost destinations for patients interested in looking and feeling their best. Specializing in advanced laser treatments and weight loss, male and female rejuvenation to offset the effects of aging, and more. See how Advanced Life Clinic can help you enjoy your life again. Call 256-882-6555 or log on advancedlifeclinic.com.
Next time you're online looking for landscaping inspiration, open Instagram and check out Southern Gent Landscaping. They can help make your yard your dream outdoor oasis. Southern Gent Landscaping can handle it all, from landscape maintenance and installation to irrigation and hardscapes, even AstroTurf. Turn your yard into a landscape you'll be proud to show off. Call Southern Gent Landscaping at 256-509-6088. 509-6088. Southern Gent Landscaping. Professional landscaping performed with satisfaction guaranteed.
Coming up this week on the High School Streaming Network.
It's a non-region week. Welcome to Week 5. Buckhorn will be back at it over the airwaves, taking on Guntersville. Over on Zone 2, Madison Academy, ranked 4th in the state in 3A football, will take on Madison County. And our game of the week features the Huntsville Crimson Panthers taking on Mae Jemison over on Zone 5. Be sure and download our app.
Don't let your back or neck pain get in the way. Get back to doing the things you love with the spine and neuro team from Huntsville Hospital. As the most experienced in the area, we have been improving lives in North Alabama for more than 50 years. Whether your favorite fishing hole is on Wilson Lake in the Shoals, Flint Creek, or Lake Gunnersville, Spine and Neuro is nearby to get you back to your best. Visit us online at spineandneuro.com to learn more.
Are you tired of chasing a roofing contractor to show up on time, or even show up at all? I'm Sam Fleming with Fleming Roofing and Restoration. Our motto at Fleming Roofing is we show up. Our goal at Fleming Roofing is to provide the reliable customer service that you deserve, and we have the resources to meet all of your roofing needs: residential, commercial, industrial, replacement, or repairs. We are manufacturer certified for roof coatings, single-ply membranes, and asphalt shingles. Whenever you need a roofing professional you can count on, call Fleming Roofing and Restoration. We are committed to finding the solution that meets your needs. We don't have quotas or heavy-handed sales tactics. Fleming Roofing, we have expert experience. We show up. Free estimates, residential, commercial, industrial, replacement, or repairs. Check us out at FlemingHSV.com. FlemingHSV.com. When you need a quick response, it's Fleming Roofing and Restoration. We show up.
From the Fox 54 Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman. A mostly to partly sunny sky this afternoon, maybe an isolated, widely scattered shower or thunderstorm. Otherwise, it looks like temperatures are going to climb into the mid and upper 80s. Some of us could end up seeing the lower 90s. Dropping into the mid 60s through the overnight, early into your Wednesday morning. Much the same for Wednesday afternoon, a partly sunny sky. Temperatures climbing into the mid and upper 80s. An isolated, widely scattered shower or thunderstorm certainly can't be ruled out. I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman on your home for ESPN Radio, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Hello and welcome back, everybody, to the Morning Blitz. John Abraham, Captain Cool, alongside the Bandiman, Bailey Lowery.
How's it going?
It's going great, Bandy. You know what's gonna be? It's gonna be even better though whenever we have some new slick music on for the younger generation. You know, those young kids love that new hip music we got in the works to get started with our show segments. I love it. Me and Bandy, we sat down and we started writing down as much as we could, and I think we got a few. I want to put some Van Fleet in there. I want to put some of that in there. I want to get some. I don't know if we'll be allowed to, but I'm going to try it at least. Now, we've had a lot of fun in that first segment, guys, but we're moving forward into the college football. Oh, Bandy's got the sheet. Where did that come from? Where'd that come from?
I mean, I still got it.
Did you just have it next to you this whole time? Oh, it was in the drawer.
Yeah.
Okay. What do we got on there? Just say one of the songs.
Just one of them. Let's see.
Just pick a random one. I don't know.
Bulls on Parade by Rage Against the Machine.
There you go. I mean, that's the type of stuff you guys get to look forward to. We're going to have some new hip music, even though it's not that new, but it's going to be different at least. But either way, we talked some NFL. I did want to continue on and talk some Cardinals, but I think we got to move over to the Alabama talk because we got to look at this matchup against Mississippi State, which I don't think it's going to be that much different from facing off against the Ole Miss team. The only difference is the offense is going to be a little bit more shaky for Mississippi State. This is why Alabama is a 12.5-point favorite, because the way that they were able to finish Ole Miss is the same way they need to go up against these Bulldogs, and they need to really pressure Will Rogers, okay? They need to lean into 100%. Last week was good, okay? They need to lean into Milroe's ability to run out of the pocket, because this defensive line is very quick for Mississippi State. And that could work against them at times, just like it did against Spencer Rattler, who is not, guys, he is a quick quarterback, but he is not as fast as Jalen Milroe, okay? Jalen Milroe is like a wide receiver almost at the quarterback position. I love to see it.
Yeah, what happened? I mean, I'm really liking what I saw out of our offensive line, too.
Exactly.
Like, once that second half started.
Yeah.
I mean, Josh Pate put it perfectly.
Yeah.
On his show when he said it was, if you watch that second half of that game and then you also watch the USF game, I mean, those were two completely different teams. So going into Mississippi State on the back end of that second half performance, I'm feeling very good about drawing up more plays for Milroe on the run. And I think they're going to be a lot more successful than they were against Ole Miss.
Definitely. I think the exact same thing. But if Alabama does want to find themselves in a comfortable lead, they will need to start off the game quicker than ever, okay? Quicker than the MTSU game, obviously quicker than that Texas game. They want to get out to an early lead, because this Mississippi State team, Will Rogers, these guys are known. They're very much known for being able to come back in these types of competitions. Obviously, South Carolina was up by a pretty handily margin in their game. But then you see that this Mississippi State team's not going to quit. In that second quarter, they were able to put up 17 points, and just like that, they're back in this game. And obviously, they continue to score all the way through to the fourth quarter. Thankfully, South Carolina able to get in a few more plays. Obviously, they scored 10, and Mississippi State scored 3. So South Carolina was able to get ahead of this game. They were able to sit pretty comfortably. Those last few points from the Mississippi State Bulldogs were kind of at that last moment where it doesn't really matter. But you still got to watch out for Will Rogers' arm, because this guy is able to chuck it down the field. On top of that, I mean, he is going to be free to run the ball whenever he'd like as well. If that defensive line isn't getting to him enough, then he's probably going to find a guy wide open down the field. One of those guys that I'm, mainly worried about is going to be Griffin, number 5 for this Mississippi State team. I try and remember this guy's first name, Ledietrick.
Yeah.
I believe that's how you pronounce his first name. Ledietrick Griffin. I know he's got a different first name. That's what the announcers go by, but I'm just going to call him Griffin here. But he had 7 receptions. Bandy, get this. 256 yards receiving.
Yeah.
A lot of people are looking past this stat right here. Okay, Will Rogers is loving his wide receivers, okay? And this guy especially, off of 7 receptions, he was able to get 256 yards receiving. The run game, push that to the side. Right now, we don't have to worry about that. It's Will Rogers' arm and his ability to get it to his receivers down the field that is going to cost Alabama if they kind of neglect that side of the ball.
Yeah, because our weakest part in our defense has been our deep pass coverage.
Yeah.
Like short and medium passes, we've been pretty good. It's our deep ball that has kind of hurt us. Definitely hurt us against Texas.
Yeah.
But where we didn't see that, we kind of saw it a little bit in the first half from Ole Miss.
Mm-hmm.
But in the second half, our defensive line really started putting the pressure on him. He wasn't able to make those kind of passes anymore.
Yeah, and it all kind of works together. Yeah. The defensive line as well as the secondary, they all kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah.
Just because you need to obviously have a good line to stop those deep throws.
But that will be the threat. If the Alabama defensive line can't get to Will Rogers in time, that deep ball is going to be a threat. And I feel like he's probably better at making that pass than Jackson Dart is.
Oh, for sure. In my opinion, I do think that when it comes to the deep ball, Will Rogers has got that down. I mean, obviously, he's been leading not only the SEC, but a lot of the country in the amount of yards that he's able to put up every single season that he's played. But, I mean, on top of that, I mean, you got Griffin. Obviously, you got Justin Robinson, who also had 91 yards receiving. And on top of that, you got Xavier Thompson, who had 56 yards receiving. All of these guys averaged yards over 10. So they're all going to be a pretty deep ball threat. But I do think that Alabama is going to be able to kind of smother this team to the point where they're going to get up to a lead. And it is going to be more than what we saw at Ole Miss. It's going to be, a pretty steady lead. I'm going to say that they're going to have to get to at least 31 points because you got to just keep kind of moving forward. And then I think the defense is going to be able to do the rest. I think that Mississippi State might score a little bit more than Ole Miss. Okay, holding Ole Miss to 10 points is kind of ridiculous in the first place. But Mississippi State is one of those teams that's bound to at least have one of those shots downfield that lands with a wide receiver, and then it gets them in good field position, okay? That's how they stay in these games. Alas, they weren't able to beat this South Carolina team, but this South Carolina team is a team that's going to be very, very strong, especially going up against Tennessee this upcoming weekend, which we will get into a little bit. But, yeah, you are right. That secondary is going to need to show up. It really is. And if it's not going to be, one guy, it's going to have to be, it's going to have to be a majority of them. At least playing average. It doesn't have to be man-to-man, but they need to be in their zones and they need to be ready for anything that comes past them, because if anybody gets by that secondary, it's going to be very bad for the Crimson Tide, even though I think that they'll only probably get 1 or 2 of those chances because of how this defensive line has been playing for the Crimson Tide. Moving over to the South Carolina matchup against Tennessee. South Carolina is currently is South Carolina 11.5 point favorite, or is it Tennessee that's an 11.5 point favorite?
Right now I'm seeing on ESPN Tennessee's a 12.5 point favorite.
Okay, I had it just mixed up because of the way that I put it down on the sheet. But yeah, Tennessee coming into this game, obviously their quarterback's been doing solid. We'll be talking with Ryan Sylvia to get all the intel on that. But again, it's a 3-1 Tennessee team. Their only loss coming from an SEC opponent. And they're going up against South Carolina, a team that was one of the only teams to get the upper hand on them last year in a pretty amazing fashion as well. But it's gonna be interesting to see, because I don't think that they can cover the spread. I don't think Tennessee's gonna get 11.5 or 12.5 points over South Carolina, just because South Carolina is kind of doing what Tennessee was doing last year, where this offense is one of the better in the SEC with Spencer Rattler. He's actually, starting to look like a quarterback that we can hype up, not to the point where he's a Heisman Trophy candidate, but where, he's a guy that's able to beat some of these SEC teams. He's been very inconsistent in the past, and if we see a Spencer Rattler who is free, he feels good about his feet, and he also feels good about his accuracy on the ball, then I think that Tennessee's going to have a tough time. But the big question is, how is that Tennessee defensive line going to do? Because we talk about Alabama's, we're talking about Tennessee's. That's a whole different game right there. Tennessee's defensive line is absolutely wacky. I believe they have 18 sacks on the season. So it definitely leads the SEC. And on top of that, I mean, you look over and, these sacks have accounted for like 103 yards lost. So, I mean, it's going to play a big role, but getting to a guy like Spencer Rattler is not an easy task. And that's why we're going to need to talk with one Mr. Ryan Sylvia. When we come back, Ryan Sylvia on the other side from VolReport.com. He'll give us all the intel on what Tennessee needs to do to go up against South Carolina and defeat them, because they did not get it last year. That's what's coming up here on the Morning Blitz on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
This is Wes Neighbors sitting here with Philip Love of not only Eagle Insulation, now he represents Eagle Companies. Eagle through the years have added several companies to help individuals or builders through their construction renovation process. Eagle is known to represent quality, efficiency, and professionalism. Philip, I know you do insulation, but do you do masonry?
We do.
Do you do grading, erosion control, and dirt hauled off?
We do.
Do you do after paint, which includes shower doors, mirrors, shelving blinds, and bath hardware?
Yes, we do, Wes.
Do you do landscaping and irrigation?
Yes, we do.
So basically, Eagle can help you all along your process of building your house or doing renovations. So do you do plumbing?
We do not, Wes, but we can find somebody to do it.
Just give them time. They'll be there. Anyway, call Eagle Insulation at
256-755-1556.
Eagle saves you time. Eagle saves you money. Call Eagle today.
Thanks, Wes.
Hunting and tailgating season is on us, and at Woody Anderson Ford, we believe it's time you got serious about an F-150. We've got nearly 150 to choose from, and without a doubt, one of the best F-150 values on the road today is our STX package. You get 290 hard-working horses, mated to a 10-speed automatic transmission that'll take you everywhere, from that tree stand to downtown Tuscaloosa. Body-colored bumpers, halogen headlamps, 20-inch machined aluminum wheels, and lots of tech too, like a rear-view camera with dynamic hitch assist, which you boaters and RVers will love. A 2023 Woody Anderson Ford F-150 STX packs a punch, but doesn't cost a bunch. You can drive one for $499 a month. $499. 36-month lease with $52.10 due at signing. No security deposit plus tax, tag, and title. Includes $399 dealer fee with your good credit. Offer ends September 30th. Call 539-9441 for complete details. Woody Anderson Ford. Hope to see you soon.
Did you know that Valley Equipment Rental also specializes in day and weekend rentals to homeowners? The weekend rentals is by far the best deal that they offer. If you pick up after 2 on a Friday or anytime Saturday morning, it's not due in until Monday morning before 8 a.m. for a one-day charge. For a small fee, Valley can even haul anything they carry. Valley has extremely experienced and knowledgeable staff that can help you decide what size machine you need or what type of machine you need to get your job done like a pro. They have all the big items that the contractors need for their jobs, but they also carry the small tools that can help you with your DIY project. More importantly, Valley is locally owned and operated, which means when you have an issue, you can get someone on it right away, right here in the Valley. Heck, ask for Ross Roberts, the owner, if you like. Try calling one of the big box national outlets and ask for the owner. That's if you can even get through the automation. Buy local. Buy Valley Equipment Rental. Valley Equipment Rental has 2 locations, one on the North and South Parkway. Learn more at valleyequipmentrents.com.
From the Fox 54 Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman. A mostly to partly sunny sky this afternoon, maybe an isolated, widely scattered shower or thunderstorm. Otherwise, it looks like temperatures are going to climb into the mid and upper 80s. Some of us could end up seeing the lower 90s. Dropping into the mid 60s through the overnight, early into your Wednesday morning. Much the same for Wednesday afternoon, a partly sunny sky. Temperatures climbing into the mid and upper 80s. An isolated, widely scattered shower or thunderstorm certainly can't be ruled out. I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman on your home for ESPN Radio, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Online at 977ESPN.com.
Stream them online.
Call in.
It's an important job, and it's an vital organization.
Tweet in and join in. We are 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Hello and welcome back in, everybody. John Abraham, Cam Cool, alongside the Bandiman, Bailey Lowery, here on a tipsy Tennessee Tuesday. Why not? Why not we throw Tennessee in there, because we're going to be talking with Tennessee with one Mr. Ryan Sylvia from BullReport.com. But before we do that, make sure you guys do find us online on 97.7 ESPN, as well as on Twitter at the exact same thing, and on Facebook at 97.7 ESPN The Zone, and on Twitch at YouTube at WZZN TV for more than just sports talk. Now, like I said, Tennessee going up against their second SEC opponent of the season. Obviously didn't find success in that first game against Florida, but now going up against a little bit more of a manageable team in the South Carolina Gamecocks. And to help us figure out what Tennessee needs to do to find success is one Mr. Ryan Sylvia. He is on the Neighbors Wealth Management Hotline. Ryan, how are you doing today, man?
I'm doing good, guys. How y'all doing?
Oh, we're doing good. We cannot complain. Had a good weekend of football, and now we get to talk about said football all week long, so it's going to be wonderful. But kind of looking at Tennessee, this team looked obviously pretty good against UTSA. But when this team does look good against these lesser competitors, I mean, it goes over, and I see what Tennessee needs to do against these SEC teams. But I really don't know exactly what Tennessee can do, and I want you to kind of give us a little bit more intel on what this team needs and can do against some of their SEC opponents this season.
Yeah, it's weird because even within those games against UTSA, that third quarter, they kind of took their foot off the gas and looked more like that team that lost to Florida. Mm-hmm. So even within these games that they're getting big wins in, you start to see a little bit of the questions arise. One of the big question marks was against Florida, self-inflicted wounds. That was kind of the phrase that Josh Heupel used all throughout the week. He said that he was really satisfied that there weren't much against UTSA, but also that's a game at home. So you get South Carolina this week at home as well, but when you go to Tuscaloosa, when you go to Lexington, you can't let those self-inflicted wounds, as in jumping off sides or having false starts or doing these things that set you back as an offense and make it 1st and 15 and then 2nd and 20 and whatnot. So that's a big issue that has hindered the offense. Also, just the offensive line has been sketchy here and there. Some games they look much improved. Other games they have a lot of holes that they kind of need to fill in, and it's made things tougher for Joe Milton, who has shouldered a lot of the blame. The quarterback usually gets a lot of the blame from the average fan, but I personally wouldn't say the issue lies on Joe Milton. I think he's been solid. I think he had a really good first half against UTSA as well. So those are the two biggest things, is kind of making sure you're not putting yourself behind the chains early, and then just making sure you can get that offensive line going for your pass and run game.
Exactly, and kind of speaking about that run game, sophomore Dylan Sampson had a breakout game against UTSA, while Small and Wright also had success on the ground. Kind of just give us some insight into Tennessee's depth on the ground and what kind of role Sampson will play moving forward.
Yeah, Dylan Sampson didn't get a carry against Florida. He says he wasn't upset about it, but it's hard to imagine that someone of that caliber was very happy after not seeing the field in a big game like that when your team's losing. But he responded really well. His teammates said all week throughout practice he wasn't down, he wasn't moping around or anything. He was really high energy, and even though he's just a sophomore, he is a leader on this team, and he provides a lot in that aspect as well. So, I mean, he's got blazing speed. He'll leave you in the dust if he gets into the open field. He hits the holes really hard. He's played a little bit in the passing game as well. We saw that in his 4-touchdown day against Virginia to open the season.
Mm-hmm.
So he's going to be a big piece going forward, and I think he kind of puts that running back room over the top because Jabari Small has some shoulder issues throughout his career that if those flare up and he has to miss a game, you don't feel like you're missing a beat if you just have to go with Jalen Wright or Jalen Wright and Dylan Sampson.
Yeah.
Or vice versa. If Jalen Wright gets banged up, he had to leave the UTSA game early. We'll see if he's available this weekend. If he's not able to go, you still feel good about your running back room with Jabari Small and Dylan Sampson. So even though he's in that third slot right now, I mean, it's not a big drop-off from that first guy in Jalen Wright, and I think that's going to play a big role this year.
Exactly, and that Tennessee run game is something special. Obviously, they are leading all of the SEC with the amount of yards that they've been able to put up on the ground with 918 yards total. Kind of looking over now at the competition for next week against South Carolina. Spencer Rattler, he continues to find success both on the ground as well as mostly in the air with 1,242 yards passing through the first 4 games. What is the key to locking him down as well as this whole offense together on Saturday?
Yeah, I would assume that South Carolina's going to let Spencer Rattler be Spencer Rattler and let him kind of air the ball out and see what they can do in that way. And if Tennessee shuts it down, then good on them, and you kind of tip your cap to them. So Tennessee's going to have to prepare for Spencer Rattler to throw the ball a lot. And I think the biggest way to get him off his game is to pressure him. And we saw in that UNC game in week 1, UNC's front just did what they wanted with South Carolina's offensive line. And that is a Gamecocks offensive line that is really banged up and missing a lot of pieces. So if Tennessee can get to Spencer Rattler and make things difficult for him, I think they're going to see more success on defense than they did a year ago. It's hard to imagine that you give up 63 points again to this team, so it's not going to take a lot to have a better performance, but maybe enough to limit them into the 20s or maybe early 30s and give yourself a shot to win this game. So if you can do that with your 4 guys up front and be able to drop your linebackers into coverage and help in that aspect as well, I think that'll make a big difference and start to limit South Carolina's offense. They're pretty solid this year.
Exactly. Tennessee's defense is also pretty solid, as you were saying. To say the least, they're leading the SEC in several categories, including the sacks at 16 and yards lost on sacks with an insane 103 yards, trailing Ole Miss by only 3 yards. But kind of talk about the defensive line and what it'll need to do to be able to contain kind of everything that this Gamecocks offense needs to throw at them.
Yeah, I think Tennessee's really comfortable with the rotation they have on the defensive line. They want to get a lot of guys in, especially throughout all of the defense they do, but especially up front. They've seen a heavy rotation of guys, and they seem to be really comfortable with at least the 2 deep guys at all 4 of those positions. And Tim Banks is a really aggressive play caller. He wants to send blitzes. He wants to make things difficult for an offensive line to communicate who they need to pick up and for the quarterback to identify stuff. So that's been really successful, especially against some of these lesser opponents. Maybe took a step back against Florida, but wasn't necessarily bad there as well. And they really like to get after the quarterback. And those 4 guys up front, whether it's those starting unit or whether it's some reserves kind of sprinkled in and some younger guys, they've done a really good job of doing that. And it's really been kind of spread out throughout everyone. Amari Thomas is one of the bigger names. He's had some good games. Tyler Barron has been phenomenal at defensive end. Roman Harrison at Leo has been solid. James Pierce, another edge rusher, has had his fair share of sacks in the backfield and tackles for loss. So it's really been done by committee. They don't have just necessarily one guy who you look at and you're like, well, yeah, that's the first-round NFL pick. So he's going to get his. It's more of a spread-out type of situation where, of course, there's going to be those main guys that their names are going to pop up more than others, but for the most part, it's been kind of spread out, which I think has helped them.
Yeah, and then moving over back to the offensive side, I'm coming to realize with Joe Mixon, I mean, he's starting to kind of get the hang of this quarterback thing, obviously with 2 touchdowns in each of his first 4 games, giving up only 1 interception to that commanding Florida team. But will he be able to kind of achieve even greater performances is the next question. Kind of just talk on him and what you've liked from him and what you've kind of want to see him kind of adjust or work on throughout the rest of the season.
Yeah, I think there's a step that he needs to take for Tennessee to start to look like the team they were last year. I think he's been really solid. I think he's been a good quarterback. I just think there's another level to his game that he can reach for Tennessee to really be a top 10 caliber program, which they were supposed to be heading into the season. And I think we saw that in the first half against UTSA, and a big reason for that was he was able to use his legs. Obviously, first play from scrimmage, he keeps it on a read option. He's down the sideline for 81 yards and a touchdown, longest rush by a quarterback in school history, 10th longest rush by anyone in school history.
Mm-hmm.
That was a special play and one that he can make that a lot of quarterbacks can't make. A lot of quarterbacks get hawked down by a man in the secondary, and maybe they pick up 30 yards, which is awesome, but they're not taking it all the way to the house. So I think that he needs to rely on his legs a little bit more. And that doesn't even necessarily mean busting out big runs, but maybe it's escaping the pocket when it collapses and extending a play. We saw that on the big touchdown to Ramel Keaton down the field from about midfield.
Yeah.
It was a free play, so he had the kind of opportunity to make a mistake there and let one fly. But pressure comes. He steps up in the pocket. He evades some pressure, and he puts a great ball to Ramel Keaton, who comes up with a big touchdown catch. So I think that is the next level of play Joe Milton needs to reach. He has his accuracy issues time and time again, but honestly, this year hasn't been much more than the average SEC quarterback, in my opinion. I don't think that he looks like the guy he was in 2021 that was missing guys wide open down the field. For the most part, those throws are there.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think it's that. I think it's more of just taking that next step in terms of mobility.
Exactly. Ryan Sylvia from BowlReports.com doing a wonderful job talking about this Tennessee football team. And kind of finishing off, Ryan, if you could combine the best part of last year's team with the best parts of this year's team, what would you kind of figure out at the end of it? What would come out at the end?
I think I would take the wide receiver room from last year, first of all. That was a really special room with Jalen Hyde and Cedric Tillman, especially when Tillman was healthy. I mean, that's one of the better ones in the country. And I think a lot of people took it for granted and kind of marked it off to Josh Heupel just scheming them open, which, of course, it helps being in this system.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, man, Jalen Hyatt was special, and I think they're starting to miss some of those playmakers this year. Not to say that Brew McCoy and Ramel Keaton and Squirrel White have done bad, but I just think that they're not at the level that maybe a Cedric Tillman or Jalen Hyatt were. So I think I would add them from last year's team. And then the aspect from this year's team that I really like, I guess I would go with that defensive front. I think that's been a big impact for this team is getting after the quarterback, and I think that's taken a step from last year as well.
Okay, all right. Well, I like to hear it. Definitely, though, the wide receiver room with two of your best wide receivers heading on to the NFL, it's something you got to look at, and you got to be like, well, it's going to be hard to replicate. Obviously, Tillman playing for the Cleveland Browns and Jalen Hyatt playing quite a bit for the New York Giants. It's good to see him in his own way. But, Ryan, we appreciate you hopping on with us. So let the people know where they can find you online and on socials.
Yeah, I'm over on Twitter at Ryan T. Sylvia. You can follow along for all the Vol content you need. And we're also over at VolReport.com. We're on the Rivals Network. So we'll be talking to some assistant coaches and some players today, getting their thoughts ahead of this South Carolina game. Talked to Josh Heupel yesterday, and we'll meet up with Heupel again for his final comments on Thursday. So head over to VolReport.com if you want to stay up to date with everything that this Tennessee coaching staff and the players have to say heading into this big week for Tennessee. They say it's not a revenge week, but the fans certainly took it personal from last year, so it'll be an interesting one in Neyland.
Exactly. Good stuff, Ryan. Enjoy the week and enjoy this amazing game we got slated for this Saturday. Can't wait for it.
Thank you, guys. Take care.
You as well. Ryan Sylvia from VolReport.com. Go and check out his work. He does a great job covering everything Vols. Something that, if you're an SEC fan in general, you're going to want to go and look at. So I'm going to go and take a look at, obviously, his Twitter and get taken to whatever article he posts on that. So that's kind of my whole way of doing it.
I mean, you sure yourself a Tennessean in you speaking?
It might be a little bit of the Tennessean. Also, my girlfriend is a Tennessee fan, so I do have I have to watch every single Tennessee game. I didn't have to watch the UTSA game, thankfully, though, because I was watching Alabama. I click over and seeing what's going on against UTSA, and it's already 28-0. So I'm thinking, you know what? I think I get to watch my team this week, and then I just kind of turned it off. But either way, good stuff from Ryan Sylvia. We got to hit a break, but when we come back, we're going to get your guys' reactions on the other side, as well as finish off, possibly talking a little bit more NFL to try and merge into tomorrow's Wacky Wednesday with RJ White. That's what's coming up here on The Morning Blitz on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Do you have discomfort in your legs? Varicose veins can affect not only how your legs look, but how they feel. Symptoms of varicose veins include pain, swelling, aching, heaviness, and fatigue. Dr. Tracy Lowery of Best Vein Care of Huntsville can diagnose and treat your varicose veins with the latest minimally invasive techniques. Diagnosis and treatment is covered by most insurances. Call 256-715-7151 to schedule your free screening. Go to bestveincarehuntsville.com.
Tom Luganbill here for my friends at Woody Anderson Ford. Bobby White and his team take great pride in their service department, and you can see it the moment you walk into those beautiful new service lanes. And just like a championship team, they all work together to make sure your experience is second to none, whether you drive a Ford or not. Also, check out the gold certified pre-owned inventory at Woody Anderson Ford for great deals every day. Stop by and see them at Jordan and Sparkman or at Woody Anderson of Madison on Hughes Road, or visit WoodyAndersonFord.com.
The kitchen is the heart of any home. It's where the family gathers. It's where kids discover old recipes and make them their own. Just starting out or just now getting started on the dream kitchen you've always wanted?
I'm Chris Haygood, and from all of us here at Bob Wallace Appliance to the home builders and the homeowners of the Huntsville area, a heartfelt thank you for buying local. We're in Huntsville, Florence, and Coleman, and online at bobwallaceappliance.com.
Work injuries happen in Alabama all the time, whether it's an accident at work, getting injured, lifting heavy objects, hurting your hands on a machine, or just performing the same movement over and over until your body breaks down. But when it happens, there's only one law firm to call in Alabama. That's Pond, Lehocky, Giordano. For personalized legal support, reach out to Pond Lehocky at 855-774-3838 or pondlehocky.com.
No representation is made that the quality of the legal services to be performed is greater than the quality of legal services performed by other lawyers.
Tom Abraham here for my friend Brian Hamaker and his team at North Alabama Mortgage. Look, buying a home is the biggest purchase you will make in your life, and it can be a bit intimidating, so you want people that can help walk you through the mortgage process and get you the best deal possible. That's what North Alabama Mortgage does, and they do it in Alabama, Tennessee, and Florida, from first-time purchases to refis, conventional, VA, FHA, and USDA loans. They have the solution at North Alabama Mortgage. Visit NorthAlabamaMortgage.com to learn more. That's NorthAlabamaMortgage.com.
The Beach Boys, live in concert, October 4th at VBC Mark C. Smith Concert Hall. The Beach Boys return to the stage. Tickets on sale now at Ticketmaster.com. Don't miss the Beach Boys live.
The Huntsville Sports Commission is responsible for bringing high-level sports entertainment to the Rocket City. In 2023, enjoy events like the CCSA Beach Volleyball Championships, Hometown Lenders Championship, UCI Paracycling Road World Cup, and so much more. To learn more about upcoming events and the Huntsville Sports Commission, visit huntsvillesports.com. The Huntsville Sports Commission. We do sports.
From the Fox 54 Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman. A mostly to partly sunny sky this afternoon, maybe an isolated, widely scattered shower or thunderstorm. Otherwise, it looks like temperatures are going to climb into the mid and upper 80s. Some of us could end up seeing the lower 90s. Dropping into the mid 60s through the overnight, early into your Wednesday morning. Much the same for Wednesday afternoon, a partly sunny sky. Temperatures climbing into the mid and upper 80s. An isolated, widely scattered shower or thunderstorm certainly can't be ruled out. I'm Chief Meteorologist Jordan Dressman on your home for ESPN Radio, 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
Listen each Friday to the Woody Anderson Ford High School Football Scoreboard Show, powered by the Huntsville Sports Commission on 97.7 ESPN The Zone.
It's a good ending song to a wonderful Tipsy Tuesday here in No Man's Land. Welcome back, everybody. John Abraham, Captain Cool, alongside the man in the chair, Bandiman Bailey Lowery.
It's been a good show, Captain Cool.
It's been a good one, I will say. We talked with Ryan Sylvia from VolReport.com. We got to get all the ins and outs about what Tennessee needs to do against South Carolina to cover their spread. that is a little bit much, I would say. But on top of that, we also talked about Alabama and their matchup against Mississippi State. And prior to that, we did talk a little bit of NFL and Bandy. I think it's time we kind of go back into that. But you guys can call in 256-5764.
97.7
is the number to call in and get into the show before we're out of here and we're back on Wednesday. Bandy, what were you about to say?
So we can kind of keep it on the SEC train.
Okay.
How about the Cardinals just making light work of the Cowboys?
I gotta admit, man,
Joshua Dobbs.
I'm glad you went to this because I've been waiting for this this team to kind of start showing up a little bit more, because at that first week, okay, you go up against the Washington Commanders. It's just kind of a little, back and forth game, obviously. It's what we expected from the Washington Commanders with Sam Howell. But now Sam Howell obviously started to be in his own ways as the Commanders quarterback. They go up against the Giants. The Giants looked terrible in week 1 against the Cowboys, obviously losing like 41-0. And then the Cardinals are able to pretty much win this game, but then they just didn't show up in the entire second half. And then they're going up against the Cowboys. You see what Josh Dobbs is able to do in that game prior against the Giants. Okay, he's starting to get into his own way. He's very confident passer, very competent as well. And he goes up and he puts 28 points on the Cowboys. Now, I mean, this isn't a fantasy quarterback you need to go after, okay, because he's not putting up a majority of his points. But he is becoming a leader, and he's becoming the best version of himself for this Arizona Cardinals team to still find victory throughout this 2023 season that we thought was going to be a total wash, and they were going to try and get Caleb Williams next season. But apparently, Josh Dobbs, similar to Geno Smith, after a long time of being a backup quarterback, can find success as a starter. But the longevity of him being a starter is the other thing. It goes kind of out the window. But I will say what he's been doing has been pretty solid. He was 17 for 21 against the Cowboys. Very safe quarterback. 189 yards passing with 1 touchdown. He doesn't break 200 yards, okay? He doesn't do that many times, okay? He's not going to, all right? But the running game's able to be on it, with James Conner obviously doing what he's got to do, 98 yards rushing in that last game. Joshua Dobbs obviously using his feet, getting 55 yards. And on top of that, he's got 3 wide receivers that are honestly looking pretty decent for him, and one of those guys is Marquise Brown, who's able to get 61 yards off of 5 receptions, and then also Michael Wilson, who's able to get 86 yards off of 2 receptions. So we find the success with this team, and we're thinking, why did we look at this team like they're going to be so bad prior to the season? Because they've got a Josh Dobbs at a quarterback, a guy that's known to come into games and not really succeed. He was Tennessee Titan last year. He played for the Cleveland Browns in the preseasons. He's played for random teams. He's played for the Steelers. He's played for almost every single team you could throw out there, and he hasn't really been able to get the field. So you're thinking, oh, well, Josh Dobbs, they're just going to kind of throw him in there. Oh, yeah, also, they got him 2 weeks before the season started. How well is he going to get accustomed to the play calling and all this stuff? And turns out he's doing pretty well, because even in the games that they've lost, he has looked solid. He has been a safe quarterback. And I think that we can start looking at the Cardinals not as much of a terrible team, like the worst team in the league, a.k.a. the Bears, and start looking at them like they're a little bit more of that middle-tier team, because their offense is playing in the top 10. Their defense is playing in the top 10. Heck, their whole team is playing in the top 10 when it comes to the stats game. They just need to be able to finish these games all the way through. And we might be looking at a team that doesn't need to go after Caleb Williams, but can kind of branch off and find a decent quarterback, or maybe, get Caleb Williams.
That's going to be the Bears going after Caleb Williams.
Yeah, I feel like it's got to be. I mean, Justin Fields is just ain't it.
Yeah, but as we're running down on time here, there's one more story from Monday Night Football.
Okay.
And that Taylor Swift has now entered the NFL, and
yes.
that was the big story from the Chiefs game. And I want to give a formal warning out there to all the listeners.
Yes.
This is a bigger deal than we think it is, because Taylor Swift fans are about to enter, we're about to cross paths.
Dude.
I want to give the warning right now. This might be the funniest NFL season we're ever going to have, because they don't know football.
Well, they will. They will soon enough. Or they'll just know, Travis Kelce's a football player.
Yeah. For one, they're already saying that he's not good enough for it, when in reality, you're talking about, the second greatest tight end of all time.
Dude, first off,
what do you mean?
He's making plenty of money for it. On top of that, I mean, he loves his mom. He's vaccinated and something else. I forgot what that other stipulation was, but hey, he's a good man. He's been chasing love. Let the man be happy. Give him Taylor Swift.
I don't know. He plays on a on a 2-time winning Super Bowl winning team.
She could have dated somebody on the Steelers, and I would have been pissed. I would have been like,
she could have dated someone on the Bears.
But instead, my girlfriend's now excited about football because Taylor Swift's now in the football world. I love it, and you guys are going to love it as well. See you in 22 hours.
Cashback is not available on gas in New Jersey and Wisconsin.
Billy, your gas light's on. We need to stop and fill up.
No way, Jen. Gas around here is too expensive. We can make it a little further.
Billy, listen to your big sister. You don't need to drive all over searching for the lowest gas prices. Do what I do and use Upside.
Upside?
Do you live under a rock, Billy? Upside is the hottest cashback app out there. It's free to